Okay, we've got a few attendees coming in. Hi, everybody. Sorry, we're a minute late. We're having a bit of a catch up, making sure we're on the same page. This will be fun. What I'm going to do is when I go to share my screen, I'll make sure I've got my Zoom stuff everywhere and we'll be okay. And then I'll just, Gabrielle and myself will bounce between each other, talk about what we need to do, make sure you're all informed, and then we'll do Q&A at the end as well. So I'll make it a bit more formal in a minute, but we'll just give the rest of the attendees a minute or two to join. Where's everyone tuning in from today? What I'm going to do is just say, I'm going to start this off in the chat. I am in London and it's raining. What a surprise.
I'm in Florida and it's hot.
Jealous.
Hot and sunny.
You Texans, that's great. I was talking to somebody in Vancouver and it was like 46 degrees yesterday or something. They had a massive heat wave. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Arkansas, South Carolina, Minnesota.
And that's 46 Celsius.
That's like Australian temperature. That's what I'm used to back home.
Yeah. 46 in Fahrenheit is very high. That's like over 100 degrees, I think, Fahrenheit.
Wow. That is hot. What is that, like 110 or something like that, Gabrielle?
Something like that. And
all right.
In the Northwest, that would be tough because it's humid as well.
Yeah, the humidity gets me. If it's dry heat, totally fine.
Yeah.
Okay, let me share my screen and we can jump in together. All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Today, myself and Gabrielle are going to talk about how to manage your cleanup projects and recurring deadlines in Pixie. My name's Matt. I'm an Australian. I've been here for about 2 years and I'm now living in London. I came probably like 5 months before everything sort of stopped travel-wise and everything like that. But since then, we've actually picked up a new family member. He's lying between my legs. We've got a golden retriever puppy. I should have put a picture on here so you could all see him. He's super cute. But if he wakes up, I'll hold him up to the camera so everyone can see. I used to be an accountant in Australia for about 5 years before I moved into the tech industry. I came across to Xero for a couple of years, practice ignition, moved me over to London, and now I'm with Pixie. I love rugby and cricket as well, and I'm about 5 minutes from Lord's Cricket Ground, so I will get there one day. Gabrielle, over to you.
Okay, well, this is just a lot of stuff that tells you that I've been in business for a long time, since 1990, so yes, I'm very old. And I live and breathe in the QuickBooks world, mostly QuickBooks Online these days, although I've been doing that since a long time. And also my business has been 100% online since 2003. At the time, I didn't realize I was ahead of my time, but you know, it was what made sense to me. So that's what I did. So that just meant that I got to have a lot of experience with using tech and trying to run a practice with clients all over the country, which is what I still do today. I also teach many courses on running a virtual bookkeeping business. And I just actually got back from the first conference in Las Vegas, where it was also over 100 when I got there, for the Digital Bookkeeper Association, which was called BKX. So that was pretty exciting to have conferences starting again. So I hope in your part, wherever you are in the world, that will soon be a reality because it really helps us in our practice. So just know that I've kind of been around for a long time.
Great experience that you bring in there, Gabrielle. Thanks for that. I definitely don't have that much experience, but I will certainly try. So here's the agenda for today. We're going to go through the challenges of the cleanup. So that is 100% Gabrielle and her area of expertise. Then I'm going to give you a high-level overview of Pixie and show you how we can import that template that we'll send you a link for in a moment, so you can actually utilize it and have a go with Pixie. And if you're new to Pixie, haven't seen it, heard of it, or started using it, I'll put a link to the trial in the chat as well, so everybody can access that as well. We'll do a Q&A, so that'll be most likely myself and Gabrielle, but we'll also have my colleague Jordan join us later. So if you have questions throughout, there's a Q&A box. Please put them in there and we'll be happy to answer them as we're going. Otherwise, we can always do them at the end as well. Plus, we've got a really great discount for everybody who's on the call here today. All right, So this is the workflow template and the link. What I'm going to do is make it a little easier on everybody and put that link here in the chat. So that link is a bit, what's the name of that there, Gabrielle, that link?
Oh, Bitly. It's a Bitly link, yeah.
So if that doesn't work, or people are struggling to connect or download from there, there's another one. So I've put a second one in there, which will take you to the cleanup guide landing page for Gabrielle's template. I'm also going to put a trial link of Pixie into the chat too. Now, if you can't click on these links or you don't have the time, that's totally fine. We'll email them to you at the end. We'll do a follow-up along with this recording as well. But the discount we're going to offer today is a month-end discount. So we've got a small window to take advantage of that, but we'll talk about it more towards the end. Of course, with that template comes how do we use it? How do we get it into Pixie? How do we actually go about making the most out of that template? I'll show you that as well in just a moment. Okay, over to Gabrielle.
Okay, so basically, the centerpiece of this session today is really to demonstrate that you can have a workflow template to use when you're doing cleanup jobs. But if you've been around the block for quite a while, you know that when a new client comes your way, or sometimes clients come and they know that their bookkeeping is messed up and they need to get a loan or they need to get their taxes done, and they can't move forward because their books are a mess. And then they come to us and say, hey, can you clean this up? And it won't take too much time. And we know that it is always much worse than the client thinks it is. But how do you standardize that? Because every client is different, every business is different. And if you've done more than a few cleanups, you know that they find new ways to get things messed up, and it can go beyond just what's obvious on the balance sheet or the profit and loss. So over the years, I've looked for other ways to standardize this, almost like checklist form, to be able to go through and make sure you don't miss anything. Because sometimes when you're even going to scope it out, you'll be like, well, it looks like this needs to be done. Okay, this is how much work has to be done. And then you scope it out. And then when you're actually in the books, it's much deeper, hidden things. In fact, I can tell you a war story, is that I had a client before who I went in, scoped out, didn't look bad, just needed a little bit of cleanup. It looked like all the accounts were reconciled right along. And I guess it was a bookkeeper that had ghosted the client, just disappeared. And so I was picking this up. And then when I went in, had the client after a while, and then I was like, there were strange like journal entries and things that were in there. And I was like, what in the world? And it was clearly a bookkeeper who didn't know what they were doing. And they had forced all of the reconciliations. So when the reality was the books weren't reconciled, and there were lots of knots that needed to be undone to actually get accurate records, because there were pieces missing. There were transactions that weren't even in there, but it had all been forced. So it takes a while to figure out these kinds of things. So what we've done is put together in the guide, which you got a link to this, there's a PDF downloadable guide that gives you some best practices and so forth. But what I wanted to show you is I created this just basic flow chart that lays out the key steps that I've seen happen in every single cleanup that I've ever done. And you can see it's more than just looking at the balance sheet and the profit and loss. Sometimes you have to dig deeper into all different areas within the bookkeeping record, such as the chart of accounts and so forth. So we give you that to kind of just know that this is the 20,000 foot view on which we've based it. It's like the phases you would go through on a cleanup. And then in the Pixie template, it goes into the more detailed steps that you can do. Now, I will give you a little more background on why I got excited about Pixie, because not only can you make these kinds of templates, but you can adjust them to the types of businesses that you serve. So if you have a niche in your practice and there's certain typical things that they're always messing up in their books that you want to add to the template, you can. And that way you're improving and streamlining your own process as well. So with that, I'll just say that the purpose of this is just to be like your skeleton, bare bones, as a structure to guide you. And then now you add the extra pieces that you need, but it's a way to make sure that you're not missing any areas of a cleanup, because every cleanup is different. But this way you can actually turn the cleanup process into a separate project if you're not already doing that. And I'd highly recommend it, that you turn it into a separate type project that you charge clients for, so that then you do cleanup projects and then you would take on the ongoing bookkeeping. So with that, I think we have a good basis and framing. Now let's get more into the nitty gritty of what is this Pixie template that you get. And we have the trial there because if you want to follow along, you can sign up for a trial, and Matt's going to walk you through some of the very basics that if you want to set it up quick and then follow along on seeing what it looks like to actually use the template. So there you go.
Perfect. Thanks, Gabrielle. That was awesome. That story about the unreconciled or sort of forced accounts scares me a lot. When I was in accounting, that was the biggest nightmare, aside from someone giving me a shoebox of receipts, which would happen every other day. But yeah, this is going to help save a lot of time. So thank you so much for that. All right, let me go through and show you how Pixie works and how we can import this template together. So I've put the link for the template in the chat. I think everybody can have access to that. And what I'm going to do is share my screen, go through Pixie together, how we can import, how we can download that template, how we can put it into use. So let me share my screen and do that with you now. So what I've got here is, this is my Pixie account. Now I'm looking at a lot of work that I have now. As you can see, I'm probably not the best worker, as most of my stuff is overdue, but let's just gloss over that for today. My work, it's super helpful Pixie for workflow, management of tasks, team management as well, and client relations. So if you have lots of information for your clients that you hold, telephone numbers, emails, information, files, you can have all of that in Pixie as well. And probably one of the best things about this, it's very affordable. It's only $59 a month, and there are no user fees, no hidden costs, no client additional fees, anything like that. So if you're a team of 5 and you grow to a team of 10, there's no extra charge, which is really helpful there. So what I'm going to do now is show you how we can access this cleanup guide and how we can actually put it into Pixie. So what I'm going to do is click into my settings, click into my task templates, and here is the crux of what you can start with in Pixie. Now you'll get between 5 and 10 task templates that we've pre-prepared for you, which is a really handy starting point, such as 1099s, annual accounts, bookkeeping, payroll, all the main things that you might offer. Pixie has built a nice list for you. So what I'm going to do is quickly click on that link from Gabrielle's slide. Here we go. So here is the workflow template, which again is in the chat. If I click download template, I can always preview what I'm looking at, which is really helpful. So there's some really nice stuff I can have a look at here about what's going on, videos embedded, what the structure of this cleanup project might entail. But I'm going to click download template there. And again, a link to the Pixie trial. So if you want to utilize this template, put it into play, you get 30 days for free. You can always sign in there and have a look. Now that I've got that template downloaded, Pixie does this thing where it'll kick you out of your account briefly, just log straight back in. It's totally fine. Coming back into settings, task templates, and now we can import that. So I'm going to click import template here. What I can do is just simply drag and drop that template and it's in. But how do I know where it is? So on the top right-hand side, there's a little link here. It says task template imported. I can click edit if I'd like, or I can search for that. The thing about it is you can do a quick search. So if I look for something like cleanup, there it is. And if I click into that template, I have a nice structure now. So let me show you what it looks like if I jump across here. So we might have a lot of detail. Gabrielle mentioned that in the slide before, where you have all of the different checklists and points you need to do. The very first thing is a list of checklists for the team. So we've given you some instructions there. So before a cleanup project begins, make sure you've actioned the following: 1, 2, 3, 4, and the team can tick and work their way through those. We then dive into a more detailed structure. For example, if the client's coming from QuickBooks, you can then click into QuickBooks, do what you need to do, and make sure you follow these steps. Again, lots of nice detail, but how do we utilize this and add it to a client? Maybe we've got like 4 or 5 different cleanup projects we need to do for a range of clients. What I'm going to do is show you something really neat. Now I've got a list of 71 clients, which you can import into Pixie through a spreadsheet. You can add them one at a time. It's completely up to you. What I'm going to do is add a client now, and I'll show you exactly how we can go about this quick and easy upload process. So I'm going to say, this client's going to be Gabrielle. Maybe she's not a limited company, she'll be an individual. Again, you can have as many choices of clients that you offer work for. For example, there might be charities, partnerships, trusts, whatever it may be. Put that in as such. I'm going to be the client manager and responsible for Gabrielle's work. Now, here are all the key fields I can add. So I've got things like I do bookkeeping work for Gabrielle. I'm going to charge her an arm and a leg. So $10,000 budget, whatever I'd like. I've created all of these neat areas that I can add information to. So I'm going to click next. Now I can add Gabrielle as a contact if I'd like, but I'm just going to skip over that for now. Perfect. So that's a really quick and easy way of adding a client into Pixie. Now, if you've got 10, 100, 1,000 clients, there's no limit. You can do an import instead, which is super quick and easy. Now we run daily workshops on how to use Pixie, whether it's connecting your emails, importing clients, using spreadsheets and templates like what we just saw. Now, if you want to know more about those, once you become a Pixie user or you're on a Pixie trial, you can have access to someone like myself, and we'll go through those academy sessions. And I run about 5 a day. So you can always jump in and figure out which one you'd like to see. Okay, one thing I didn't do was I didn't actually add in, is Gabrielle a cleanup client? Yep. So I've created a custom field called cleanup client. So now what I can do is actually filter for all of my cleanup clients. I have 5. Gabrielle's one of them. So now I can start work for these 5 clients at the same time using that really nice spreadsheet, or rather workflow template that Gabrielle's created. So if I click all of my clients, I'm going to select create task. Now I can find my cleanup template. I can set a deadline in there if I want it to be, maybe not tomorrow, but let's just say I wanted to have it done by the end of next month. Here's all my information, and I'm going to click create task. Maybe I'm just going to change that to workflow template. Nice name, cleanup workflow. Create that. So now I've created 5 pieces of work for 5 clients. How easy was that? So that's how you can utilize Pixie to create one-off work or multiple pieces of work recurring at whatever frequency you like in the future. So I'm going to have a look for things in the future.
I'm going to pipe in a bit there on that too, especially when it comes to cleanups, because again, we're using a template. So if you had 5 clients that needed cleanup, you can then go apply the template as, you know, work that needs to be done for each of those clients, but then you can go in and customize them for each of those clients as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, good point. Let me show you an example of that now. So if I find my cleanup workflow, I've got so many here. So we've got some cleanup stuff for this client, for this client, for this client. Let's jump in here and begin. So as you can see, maybe all 5 of these clients are very similar. They have the same structure. Maybe 1 or 2 are very, very complex and we need to make a slight adjustment. We can always make an adjustment in the template or in the piece of work related to that client. So I'm doing some work for Matt. I might be coming through, and before I begin this project, I have to make sure I've nailed all of these, which again, I can do as I go, and I can always adjust. So maybe there was something in there that I need to do. So Matt's, extremely big client of mine. So I have to double check things. I can always go in there and just add as many additional fields as I'd like. But again, this is just some internal stuff that I'm doing here. So I'm going to mark that as complete, and we're going to move on to subtask number 2. And again, we've built all this substance for you, so please take advantage of it, use it, adjust it if you need to. There's a really good question that's come through from Jennifer about master codes. I'll talk about that in just a second. Now that's really helpful for security purposes. And in the scenario I'm about to run, you'll see what that looks like. All right, let's pretend we've completed that. We're up to step number 3. Now, my colleague Jordan, who will be joining us soon to answer some questions, he has prepared a really good video here about how this can work and how you can add information. So for example, if you want to ever add a video for your team, maybe you complete the work and then you want them to replicate that going forward, you can always screen record using Loom, Vimeo, or maybe even YouTube, something like that. You can link that straight into Pixie, and it's really helpful for that education for the team. Now, here are some of those pieces of information that maybe we need to request from the client. So standard items to request. Maybe we need copies of most recent tax files, bank and credit card statements. What I'm going to do is actually copy this. Now, the reason why I'm going to copy it is because I want to send that to the client and I want them to tick every box that's applicable to them and send me the information that's required. Okay. So I'm going to navigate up here into the Client Tasks tab. Now, the Client Task tab is exactly the place where we're going to need to use that master code for secure files, Jennifer, that you asked for before. And what I'm doing here is writing a nice list for my clients. So I need them to tick everything that's applicable. So let's say tick everything, please. Terrible spelling. Now, what I can do from here is I can now chat with my client, and I've created a central place for them to provide me their documents, to complete the tasks that I need from them, and then we can complete their work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Send to Client. Again, pre-prepared email for me, really quite helpful. You can always adjust. So I can always adjust any of the wording here. But as you'll see, there's a unique link in the middle of the page. Now that unique hyperlink is for this client and this client only to upload their documents and access what I'm giving them. So again, really helpful for security purposes. And something else Pixie does is it will chase clients for you if I set up an auto reminder. So maybe clients are, pretty busy now. Maybe we want to just bug them gently every 5 days. I'm going to update that. I'm going to send that away. All right, so now I've got a nice portal here. So let's pretend I'm talking to Gabrielle. So I can say, hi, Gabrielle, please complete the following for me. And now I've got a nice discussion going with my client on the right-hand side. Another good question from Denise. Clients do not need their own Pixie account. All they need is to access that link, which is automatically emailed from Pixie to them. Let me show you. So let me come into my sent items. I'm looking, let's pretend that I'm the client. This is the email I've just received from you. It says, dear Matt, please jump in here and have a look for me. Now, if you're using Microsoft 365 or Gmail, Pixie is compatible with both of those. What it'll also do is it will pull through your email signature. So you can have a nice email signature, and there's none of this, no changing of the hyperlinks or anything like that. It will only and always be your email. So the clients know and feel it's exactly the same. It's always coming from your recommended email provider. So here's the link. If I click on this link, it's going to stop the clients here. It's going to say, hi, welcome to insert your business name here with your business logo. What is the passphrase for getting into this secure portal? Now you can provide that to the client. Maybe you want to say something along the lines of, your passphrase is your date of birth or your business name or your nickname or something. They're the most common things that I hear without actually telling the client what it is. You can provide that on email. You can provide that over the phone, however you'd like to get it to the client. Now they're in. So here we go. Please tick everything that's applicable to me. Right, I'm going to upload some tax returns. So I'm going to attach a new file here. Let's just pretend that this here is the relevant piece of information. I'm the client. I'm uploading that into Pixie. And as you see, it uploads very quickly. So Pixie is extremely fast. There's no limit to the size of files that you can have in Pixie or the clients can deliver you. And there's no limit to those amount of files either. So if a client gives you 100 files, they'll all come through to your Pixie account straight away. Now, let me do a quick refresh back in our Pixie account and show you what's happened now that this client has achieved this. So if I refresh this screen, notice the very first item has been completed. The client has also uploaded a document for me, and I would have received a notification to say, your client's just uploaded you a document, please check it out. Now, where is that document? It's right here. It's actually saved in the piece of work we're offering this client. It's also timestamped, and it's got a link for where it came from. So it's come from a link that we've sent our clients and the relevant piece of information. We can always rename these if we need to. But for example, that's just come through us now. We can always rename that. And we have a nice email history too between what we've sent the client and what they've sent back to us. Now, this file will always be stored in Pixie, not only in the task, but also in the client record. So if I was to click into Matt's name, every file he's ever sent us will be nicely nested there, along with any emails that we've had between ourselves or our colleagues and Matt as well.
Nice.
Now let's pretend we're going to I'm super efficient. I'm going to go through and tick everything I need. I might say, hi, Matt, all done. Now, again, let's just quickly refresh our Pixie account. And here we go. Matt's completed what I needed them to complete. Nice discussion on the right-hand side. And then those auto reminders will now cease once Matt has completed what we need him to complete. So that's really helpful for getting the relevant information from your client and also receiving and exchanging documents very securely. Gabrielle, is there anything you'd like to add there, or is that looking good?
No, it looks great. I think it works well. And
Perfect.
I like that the files aren't just with the project, because if you ever need to go back to get to a file later after the project's done, it's helpful that you can go into the client and also find it.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a really good point. So exactly as Gabrielle mentioned, if any emails, I've had another good question come through. Any emails that we exchange between our clients and us will be able to be found here, so we can communicate with our client. Now, anything that I send from Pixie looks and feels like it's coming from my Gmail or 365 provider. That email that I just sent will be in my sent items. So here it is here. There's my sent items. And here's the very first email I sent as well. So it always corresponds with your email account that you've linked to Pixie. Not only that, it's really smart in that it will automatically link any and every email from Matt and yourself to Matt's client record. Now, if Matt has another business using the same email, it will also allocate that to the corresponding client. But in this example, I don't need it to go to the business. This is purely individual. So it's going to store in Matt going forward. So it's really smart. And that also helps log with the emails. You never have to worry about linking them. If it identifies that Matt has a certain email, it'll automatically log that email to Matt. Okay. Now maybe let's just fly through this. We've worked our way through. We're feeling really confident here. We're moving our way through this nice template. I'm not going to give it all away because I'd like for you to use it and see for it yourself, but I'm going to jump through down to number 9. So subtask number 9 is a nice email, again, that I might be sending the client to say, we've just completed your work, check it out for us. And we can then maybe insert a Calendly link there. As you can see, I've just put a little yellow bracket to make sure that I put my Calendly link in there, send that away to the client, and the client can then straight away book a time with me to complete what we need them to complete. So I'm just going to send that off to Matt. Perfect. Now it's gone. And as you can see, you can actually adjust and complete work at any interval. So you don't have to go through 1 straight through to 10. You might do them out of order. You might reshuffle them. You might add, you might subtract. You can always add additional subtasks up the top here by clicking add subtasks, or rearranging these if you'd like to maybe change the structure. Now that I've done my piece of work, I might want to reassign this work to Gabrielle for review, as she's the partner of the firm, for example. I can reassign this task in the top right-hand side, select the relevant team member. For example, it might be this team member, click reassign. That work is now on my colleague's plate to review. I can also help my colleague in one of 2 ways. I might want to add a label to this saying that the client's received the records. I need it to be reviewed and it's now pretty urgent. So I've created those nice labels. So straight away, my colleague can see exactly where I'm up to, and I might want to leave them a note. Okay, so you can always add notes too, so your team can collaborate on the same piece of work. All right. If you're connecting your emails to Pixie, your inbox will correspond with your respective 365 or Gmail. So straight away, I can see the nice history of chat between myself and my client, also automatically linked to any client records. Now let's pretend this was a brand new email from a client. What I'm going to do is show you what happens if a client emails us maybe 3 or 4 months early and say, here's my tax stuff. You can actually create a task exactly like we did for the workflow cleanup, but maybe it's going to be a tax task from the client's email, which is really helpful, especially if you don't want to lose track of emails, you don't want to ever miss anything. You can put that on your to-do list instantly. If this is coming through relating to another piece of existing work you have, you can add that email to that existing task. Select the right task and it will assign that email to that task, so you can have all the information you need in the same place. All right. Let me click into my client record. Now, what happened between the email correspondence of myself and my client? We can see them all nested here, a nice history of those as well, anything that's been sent and received, and any files that have come through from our client as well will be neatly nested here. So I've got all of my VAT, all of my tax returns, and then the 2 files that my clients just recently uploaded for us, which I can always override if I need to. Now, if I want to get a nice breakdown of the work, we're building out a really nice file folder structure so you can manipulate the look and feel of these and maybe drag and drop folders. But at this stage, if I was to have a look for cleanup work, let me jump down the bottom here. Here's my cleanup workflow template. Here's my task that I was doing for Gabrielle just now. And here is the file that the client sent us. So it has grouped it in a sense under that workflow template file. We've got a nice timestamp of when the file came through and where it came from, plus a link back into that task. Okay, perfect. Let's just make sure I've covered everything here. All right. Now, again, I mentioned briefly you can import clients from a CSV, and that's something that I will show, and it happens twice a week. So if you want to jump in, create a trial, jump into one of my sessions. As soon as you create a trial, you'll receive a link to jump into those sessions. You can import from a CSV. Now, I imported all of my clients in one go, and it was very simple. It's something that I can help you with on one of those video sessions, very much like what we're doing now at your discretion. So make sure you book those in, book in any other feature that you want to know, maybe emails. How do we set up our workflows? How do we utilize those templates that we've built? How do we invite team members? All the key areas I can help you with there. Now, we have a couple of great features coming up as well. So if you'd like to activate your trial by using that 50% discount code, which we'll talk about a little bit, you can add to our roadmap so you can see what's coming up in the future. You can always add information or particular features that you'd like to see, and you can vote to existing features that people have requested as well.
Yeah, by the way, I love that feature. I love being able to say, oh, I wish it would do this. And then I go in to see, what's on the roadmap, what's everybody else asking for and voting for it. And it's then we're contributing to making Pixie work the way we need it to. So I love that.
100% right. Yeah, thanks, Gabrielle. Exactly. So if you like the look of something or you want to see that taken on in the future, please cast your vote to it. Something that we can talk more about when you come on board with us. But let me show you what our workflow now looks like, that we have created that work and then reassigned it to a team member. So if I click this reassigned button up here, I can see what I've offloaded to any of my team members. And here is that cleanup workflow that I've reassigned to my colleague, Bonnie. And if this ever becomes overdue, for example, it slips through the cracks and maybe Bonnie forgets to review it, I'll get notified to say, check in with Bonnie. So the system's really smart in keeping yourself and the team on top of all the jobs and giving you alerts in case anything becomes overdue. All right, that's enough for the demo for now. Again, I do a fair bit of these demos going forward daily. So if you'd like to know more about Pixie, you can always have a look at the trial and then book in one of those demos for some more detail. But now we're going to open it up for Q&A. I know Jordan's been flying through those questions, which is really good. So thanks for your help there, mate. And no, let me answer that live there, Denise. No, clients do not need a Pixie account. And we've answered the master code. So let me show you, Jennifer, where you can find that master code, something I should have mentioned before. So we used Matt as an example for a client. This master code will be about 4, 5, or 6 random words on the right-hand side here. So it'll be a pre-generated code for your clients, but I like to override that. So I click the pencil, edit the code. My surname's Fox, so my nickname's Foxy, naturally. And you can always adjust as necessary. So I see a lot of people who do the client's date of birth or maybe their business name or something along those lines. If you've ever received a payslip from, say, Xero, for example, or whoever it may be, you can see how that's the kind of code that they might give to access that. It's very similar to Pixie. You can provide the code to your client. They can access the unique link for security purposes.
Yeah, and I would just kind of a best practice on that, because if you're going to send them that code via email, I love what Matt said, that it's like you don't actually give them that code. It should be something that you say, oh, it's this thing in your business, that like they would know off the top of their head, but it wouldn't be something that somebody else who isn't authorized wouldn't know. So I love that idea.
Spot on. Thanks for that, Gabrielle. Are there any final questions? I think we've answered, Jordan's gone through and answered a few. I've answered a couple live. What I might do is just click us onto the next screen. All right, so what we all came for. Here are the discounts. Now I'm going to put this code, which is that capital letters cleanup, in the chat now. So if you need to write it down, you absolutely can. So discount code for today for your first 2 months at 50% is cleanup 50. Now that expires midnight tomorrow. So that's the end of the month. I know it's a quick turnaround, but please, if you,
Midnight, what time zone?
Oh, good question. That might have to be answered by Jordan, but
would be the East Coast time zone.
Okay, good. We'll give you guys
people
as
on
much
the West
time as
Coast
possible.
need to know that. Yeah, sorry.
And that's so $59 a month is the regular price. That will be halved for your first 2 months. And again, no user fees. So if you have 2 or 20 team members, no extra charge, which is great. Now, if you're a sole practitioner and you don't have any Pixie or any team members and it's just you, we have a special discount for our sole practitioners. So please email me if you're a sole practitioner and you'd like to jump on Pixie. My email, again, I've just put it there in the chat. It's just matt@usepixie.com. So please feel free to email me and I'll get you that special code and then you can take up Pixie as well. If you're interested in taking up the code, I've also put a little resource in there of how to apply the code. If you ever get stuck, please feel free to use that. It shows you nice screenshots and a walkthrough of how to apply that discount code to take advantage of today's offer. Okay, now these are the Academy sessions that I run. As you can see, there are 10 on the right-hand side and they repeat throughout the week. So if you have maybe you've got a bunch of questions, there's a specific Q&A that we run weekly where you can bring all of those questions to me and we can actually go through and answer them in live time. Now, I do like to open up all of my sessions at the last 10 minutes for Q&A as they are, most likely on the topic that we're talking about. But if you do need a question answered a little bit quicker, feel free to jump into one of those sessions and I'm happy to do those as well. So these are hour-long sessions. They can be as short or as long within that hour as you'd like. Now, it depends on how many people there are, but we really try and give you as much as you need, and we can always tailor those sessions to the specifics of those people who are on the call as well. Now, we run them in a way that we like to make that a nice community, so you can always discuss with fellow Pixie users or people who are new to Pixie or looking into it. So we can discuss and we can make these sessions the best for you, so we don't have to worry about missing anything when we go through those. And again, final reminder, there's the cleanup, 50% off for your first 2 months. It expires midnight Eastern time tomorrow. And then if you're a sole prac, please reach out to me on my email and just say, hi, Matt, I was at the webinar today. I'm interested in that sole prac discount, and I will absolutely provide that for you. All right.
Do we have any questions that are in the chat? Because sometimes, you know, when you have a choice of a chat or Q&A, we don't necessarily use the right one.
I think Jordan's been on top of it. It looks like he has. Thanks for that. Oh, great. Well done. I think Jordan's absolutely flown through those questions. He's done a mixture of both Q&A and chat.
Okay, great.
There's a couple more questions coming through, but Jordan is on the line to assist. Feel free to answer those live, Jordan, or I type out an answer. I can see one coming through here from Deb. Is there a PDF of the template? Good question, Deb. I think, let me just zip my screen across here. So this is what we're looking at. This is the template. I think it only comes in Pixie format. So what we see on the screen here, I don't think there's a PDF version of this. Is that right, Gabrielle?
Yeah, that's correct. The template itself, you can see it on screen before you download it. So you are able to see what it looks like, but it's because it's in the Pixie format. It's not, you know, you have to use Pixie to be able to use the template.
Perfect. Now, if anybody has had issues clicking on those links or couldn't find them, please just chuck it in the chat. Just say, Matt, I need that link again, or what's your email, or what's the trial link? I will put them in there. But I will also follow up with everybody who's attended today, not only with the recording, but all those links as well, so you never miss any of those. Okay. I think that's the end of our slide deck.
It is.
Thanks everyone for joining. Gabrielle, thanks again for being on top of it and absolutely nailing the cleanup work. That's really interesting. I liked it.
Good. And if there's my email too. If you have questions about the cleanup itself, you can always do it. Gabrielle at, I have a Pixie email too. Gabrielle at usepixie.com. That's my Pixie email. I have about 100 other ones, but that one will help because I know it's on this webinar.
All right. And I was just calling the pup over. I'm going to hold him up for you in a second. Moose, come here.
Oh.
Come here, buddy. Oh, he was asleep. Hey, little sleepy guys. Hey, come here.
Sleepy puppies are cute too.
He's super cute. Here he is. This is Moose. You want to say hello to everybody?
He is half asleep. He's also gotten bigger since I saw him last.
Yeah, he's a very cute little guy. But yeah, he grows way too fast. Oh, good boy. Sorry for waking you up. He's still pretty sweet, but he does. I don't think you realize how big he actually is. We'll be sitting on the couch and he'll just squash us. But can't wait till he's 30 kilos. We'll see how that goes.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming.
Thanks everyone for coming. Appreciate your time. Hopefully, I'll just send a picture of him through as well on the email follow-ups for those who didn't get to see him. All right, I think we've covered everything. If there's any more questions, feel free to respond to any emails that I'm going to send afterwards. But looking forward to seeing you potentially join us in the future, and have a fantastic day.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.